we're back to learning Photoshop in the year, day 286. And let me show you a simple example to introduce the Photoshop action feature. I've got a background right here, let me call it BG, and then an original image, we're going to use it later. And now I use the ellipse tool, I'll hold shift when I drag that. I just want to have a simple ellipse, so no stroke. And the fill color doesn't really matter. Let me make that red, just to start with. But again, make sure that we don't have a stroke. Then I use the move tool and put it to the top left corner. And then I use the arrow keys 5 times to the right and 5 times to the bottom. So this is our starting point, and we want to fill the entire canvas with circles. We could, for example, hold Alt and drag a copy out of there and then reposition it, do it again. And you can see when you have a really big canvas, it's going to take a lot of time, it's going to be tedious. There's an easier way to do it, and that is Photoshop Actions. You can find that under Window and click on Actions, or just press Alt F9. I've resized that window a little bit, and there are some pre-installed, so you should have the same. For example, let me use Molten LED, and I run it. And you can see this performs a couple of operations, and in this case gives you a Molten LED design. Let me delete that layer, we don't need it. We can also create our own actions. And this is what this plus sign is for, looks like new layer. In this case it's new action. Let me call that tutorial 1. We'll set it to default actions, function key none, and color none. It should be active by default. Confirm via record. And you can see the record button now here, this reddish circle. And that means that everything I do now is being recorded. And this then stored in this tutorial 1 Photoshop action. We are on our ellipse layer, and I press Ctrl J to copy it. And this is already recorded. Layer via copy. You can see that right here now. And I can drag it out of there. And then I use the arrow keys 5 times to the right. And now we are already done. I stop my recording. And you can see we have the copy layer and then the move current layer. So both of that is now stored in tutorial 1. You now want to be on tutorial 1. So make sure that this is highlighted and not something off that folder. And once you've got that, just use the play selection function right here. And you can see this copies the circle and puts it directly into the position where you need it. So every time you play it, your last actions will simply be repeated. And in our case, that means that layer via copy and the repositioning, which is stored in tutorial 1, this will all be repeated. I'll select all layers. To do that, I'm on the top one, scroll down to the bottom, hold shift, left click on the last layer here, and then I press Ctrl G to group it. We've got the circles here in a single group. Then we reposition and resize that a little bit. When I resize it, I'll hold shift. Now we want to copy it to fill it vertically. And again, we can use an action for that, which speeds it a little bit up. I create a new action. I call it tutorial 2. Click on record. I'm on my group 1 layer and I press Ctrl J to copy it. And I move it down, holding shift. Once it snaps, I use the arrow keys 5 times. And then I can stop my recording. I use the play function for tutorial 2, so make sure that tutorial 2 is highlighted, and it's going to copy now my folder with all the circles and reposition it directly where I need it to be. Again, I'm on the top group here, hold shift, click on the bottom one, Ctrl G to group. All circles are now in this folder here. And I can press Ctrl T and resize it a little bit. Obviously, you can calculate the original circle size depending on the canvas that you need if you want to have perfect results. But in this case, I'm totally fine with the circles being cut off a little bit when I resize it here. Once we've got that, let me bring back the original image, Ctrl T, I make it bigger than my canvas. Press enter, and then right click and create a clipping mask. This now clips the image to all of the circles, and I can recolor my background using the paint bucket tool. G would be the short key for it. Just activate it and then click on the background. You can also make that red if you want to, so any color is possible. Just set it right here via your swatches. I think Photoshop Actions are a very helpful tool. You can already see that here it saves you a lot of time. Now imagine having a bigger project, and sometimes you also perform tasks that you have to perform all the time, and it's a good idea to store that so that you can easily use it here. One more thing to add, you can also delete these actions. Just use the trash icon. I don't need tutorial 1 and 2 here anymore, and then it's gone. I hope this video was helpful, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.